Hello everyone, this is the admin of the Chaos Burger page, doing a deck profile for you all. So, I know that we haven't done much with deck profiles lately, but I feel like we should probably get started on it in a sense. So, I'll be putting mine up first, I guess. So, if you haven't noticed already, the one I'm going to be doing today is going to be Shadow Paladins. Surprisingly enough, it's not what you think it is. Even though you see the deck box and probably like the sleeves and all that stuff. This is not a Luard deck. This is a Revenger deck. Reasoning why I don't really want to do Luard yet is one, I don't have the cards yet, and I don't really think that. I think the deck is good, but it needs more support. So until then, I'm probably not going to end up building the deck yet until I get more, more stuff for it, because I just don't think it's worth the time at the moment. But yeah, so in my in my experience, I felt that Revengers are still pretty good. They kind of lost out in speed wise and stuff like that, but I felt like they're still good in their own way. So I felt like doing this. So yeah, let's get started. So my starter is gonna be, it's pretty different in comparison to like the other players. I run Creeping Dark Goat for numerous reasons. One is that with Judge Bow is good, but I see myself losing Judge Bow really early. And also, because the deck is already like, it's... Judge Bow is really restricted to the Phantom Vanguard thing. So I was like, okay, well, if it gets retired, I lose out on it. And I want to get my pluses off fast. So I was like, alright, well, Creeping Dark Goat nets me the grade 3 if, top 5 if you manage to get it. Sometimes you miss, but that's how it is with grade 3 searchers. But I felt like this benefited me more than Judge Bow Revenger. Even though Judge Bow Revenger, gets you the net plus two grade 1s as long as you hit and you boosted a Phantom Vanguard. But I feel like it's just that now with how fast the game, the decks are and all that, the speed of the current meta and everything, Judge Bow is just too slow to run, and I want to get my pluses off quickly. So that's kind of why I run Creeping Dark Goat, and it usually nets me the good pluses. Another thing is that I'm also running this because I'm going into the preparation of running. I'm still in the testing phases of it, but I'm trying to make this deck into a Raging Abyss deck. And so this, in that kind of a build, this actually does better. But this is not a Raging Abyss build, so yeah. Other than that, though, this is actually better, in my opinion. There's probably other better starters, but I prefer this. So yeah. So trigger lineup wise, continuing the zeros, I run 4 heal triggers. G-Guard. I mean, pretty explanatory. I run 10 criticals, 2 of this, 4 of that, and 4 of that. The reason I run 10 crits is because the deck needs threat in some way, and the 8 crit, 4 draw, 4 heal was okay, but you don't need that much draw in Shadow Paladins for some reason, and I felt like the crits provide more of a threat, especially when you're with how the deck is. Like, I'll get to it when you see it, but the 10 crits just has that threat behind it. Yeah, and then finish out the triggers, I run 2 draws. You do need some draw, but you don't need too much, and you do tend to trigger these out pretty well, so it's pretty good. You don't want to get too many draws into your hand, because then it's lackluster with it, and it's not as big of a plus as you think it is in Shadow Paladin Revengers. So running the 2 draws seems to be pretty good. and the 10 crit. The 10 crit comes out really pretty well, especially when you stride and they're going like, oh, 1 to pass, and if you're triple driving, you're gonna probably hit that crit, or if you're trying to go for that crit to win kind of thing, the 10 crit does wonders in a sense. So yeah, so that's my grade zeros, triggers, and the starter. My grade 1 lineup is a little wonky compared to like other players, but this is how I've ran it, and it's pretty decent. So I run one of the stride fodders. Reason being is that there is really not that much room in here, and I only ever need the 1. I could run 2 if you see the lineup, but I felt like 1 is good enough. Some of the times I don't even stride to try to end the game, but on occasions that I do stride, I always end up ditching my grade 3 anyways. So yeah, so the 1 is good just to see it, but yeah. I'm running one of the Dark Heart Trumpeters. So GB1, Soul Blast 1, when placed on rear, and I have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Blaster in its card name, pay the cost if I do. Superior call a grade 1 from the deck that's not named Dark Heart. So I'd call any other grade 1 besides her to get the stuff going. Usually with this, I always have the main grade 3, which you'll see later, which is going to be a Phantom Blaster onto the Vanguard. I always ride that. I never really ride Mordred. Yeah, it's a Mordred build. But I felt like it's more beneficial. So, and having this 1 actually does help a lot. So yeah. I'm also running one of the Revenger of Vigor Mar. Yeah, Mar. Effect is Counterblast 1 card with a Revenger in its card name. When placed on rear, if I have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Revenger in its card name, pay the cost if I do. Choose a card on my Vanguard circle, and then search my deck for up to 1 card with the same card name as that unit, or as that card. Reveal it to your opponent, add it to your hand, and then shuffle the deck. So this deck thins a little bit to get your grade 3s out of the deck, and, you know, preparation for strides and stuff like that. The reason why I only run 1 is because you don't want to see too many of it, and plus you're counterblasting already so much, so you don't want to run too many cards to counterblast. This also combos off pretty well with one other card that I'll get to, but I only ever need to see 1, because I only ever need to pull it off once. I don't see I like to have the option of using this card. If it gets into the damage zone, oh well. I have other targets. But when it doesn't get there, then I can, you know, combo off with this card. So yeah. I'm running 1 Transient Revenger Masquerade. 10k attacker. Targetable by other cards to Superior Call. Not a bad grade 1 to have. I would run 1 more of this, but I felt like this is better as a 1-of. And yeah, I know there's a lot of 1-ofs, but that's kind of how it is, and it works pretty well with how the deck runs. So, but yeah, usually a lot of players will run like 2 of the Dark Hearts, or like 2 of the Stride Fodders instead of the Masquerade and stuff like that. So it just depends on the player. I just don't really want to have too many of the Stride Fodders. I want Revenger targets for grade 1s. So yeah, and there's a reason why later you'll see. Now, going forward, I'm running 2 of the Karans. This is the, Blaster Dark, grade 3 Searcher, kind of the thing, kind of like the, yeah, but you don't really use it for the first effect, you use it for the second effect. When you're retiring a rearguard, for the cost of a unit's ability, and I have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Blaster in its card name, retiring this unit can count as 2 sacks. So if I'm sacking for Aura Geyser and I'm a Phantom Blaster Vanguard, this can act as a 2-sack. A Spectral Blaster, you know, any type of effect that sacks units and stuff like that, this can act as a 2 as long as I have a Blaster Vanguard. So I like it at 2. It helps a lot. Doesn't waste a lot of your resources and all that. So, and I don't want and I don't want to run more than 2. I like it, but I don't want to see too many of it. So yeah. So 2 is good. And then I run 4 of the Barrier Retreat Revenger Dorant. Pretty explanatory in the sense that when you play a Blaster Dark Revenger, not the Abyss, but the one from the trial deck, or the SP one, when placed in the same line, unflip a damage. If people don't remember the ruling with this, if you have 2 on the field and you play a Blaster Dark Revenger over this, you actually trigger both of them to unflip 2 damage. But you never run into that too much, so yeah. But, you know, it's a good way to understand the rulings and stuff like that. This is essentially your way to unflip as well. You've got one other card to do, but yeah, it still helps. I run the G Perfect Guards, the Karma Collectors. Essentially only PG the Vanguard. If you have another copy in the drop zone, unflip a damage. So this Endurant helps with the unflippings and having open counterblast and stuff like that. So yeah, so that's all my grade 1s. So far this is how I like it right now, but yeah, it could change. So my grade 2s, I'm running one of the Fighting Spirit Revenger Makart. This is a Legion deck still, but I don't really use him too often. But when I do, it helps a lot, because he nets you a free grade 1 Revenger from the deck, so that's why there's Revenger targets in there. So his effect is when your Vanguard Legion, search your deck for up to 1 grade 1 or less with the Revenger in its card name, call it to rear as rest, and then shuffle your deck. So this gives you an extra target for, you know, the Phantom Blaster Dragon restand, you know, attack 3 restand kind of thing. So it helps with just, I feel like the 1 is good enough. You don't want too many of them, so yeah. I'm running 2 of the Wily Revenger Monos. This is pretty much when placed on Van or rear. If I have a Shadow Paladin Vanguard, search my deck for up to 1 grade 1 or less card with Revenger in its card name. Call it in the same column as this unit. Shuffle the deck, and then at the end of the turn, the grade 1 that was called gets sent to the bottom of the deck. The thing with this card is that you use it to prepare for your costs, like Aura Geyser costs, Spectral costs, Phantom Blaster Abyss costs, or Phantom Blaster Abyss cost, Diablo cost, because it's a 1 card. It's a 1 card that becomes 2 cards, essentially, for a sack. And this thing hits, and then when you declare an attack at the 14 or a 15, but no one really cares about the numbers. It's more on the fact that you use it as a cost to sack, and that's how you try to win the game. Is play cards that net you a plus without costing so much. And so since this one doesn't cost a counterblast or anything, it's a fair bit better. I would run another third mana. I just don't have one, so that's why I run the 1 Makart. But having 2 is already pretty good enough. I feel like I don't need too many of her in the deck, so yeah. Because you do need some other cards that I'm going to be getting to. The rest of the grade 2s, I'm running 4 of the Blaster Dark Revengers. Essentially, when placed on Van or rear, if I have a Vanguard with Revenger in its card name, pay the cost. If you do, choose pay the cost of Counterblast 2, choose one of your opponent's rears in the front row, and retire it. You don't really use it, but when you do, you do, but you don't really use it, just because it's such a heavy cost. And it only is better if you have Dorant, so that's why you don't do it. But you do need 4 still. I feel like you still need the 4 in the deck, just to make it work. And, to see it for the Dorant combo. But yeah. And then I run the rest of the grade 2s. I run 4 of the Blessed Dark Revenger Abyss. Pretty much, Counterblast 1, when placed on rear, if I have a Vanguard with Revenger in its card name, pay the cost. If I do, retire an opponent's grade 1 or less rear guard. So this is pretty good turn 2 when you ride to grade 2. You essentially, if they still have their starter, you annihilate their starter. You annihilate any pesky grade 1s. It's a pretty good target because a lot of decks are grade 1 reliant, and so this helps with a lot of stuff. Yeah, and then it's your Legion mate for the deck, so you kind of need that for the Legion and stuff like that. So yeah, so that's your grade 2s. Now on to the grade 3s. I'm running 4 of the Break Ride Mordred Phantom. Right now I don't have the Raging Abyss, but yeah. So Counterblast 1, when a Shadow Paladin rides over it, you pay the cost if you do. The Vanguard gets 10k, and then you search your deck for a grade 2 or less Shadow Paladin and call it to rear. You don't ever really break ride in this deck, but when you do, it actually does help. You can call out a mana, a Makart, or like anything to set up your plays. This thing helps a fair bit. Just depends on your situation. I feel like it's an okay card, but it's like the only good one in the deck that I could run. Besides Raging Form. So yeah, and then when it declares an attack, it's a 13k attacker. But normally I don't ever ride him. I ride this card. I ride Phantom Blaster Abyss. So yeah, but overall it's still a good card in the deck, and I don't see why you wouldn't run it. And then finishing out the grade 3s, I'm running the Revenger Phantom Blaster Abyss. So first effect, Legion with Blessed Arc Revenger Abyss, and then his other effect is auto. Counterblast 2, sack 3 Revengers in the rearguard circle. During the turn that this unit legions, at the end of the battle that this unit declares at the end of the battle that it attacked the Vanguard, you pay the cost. If you do, stand your Vanguard. So essentially, 22 to or 29 to Van if you're boosting. You twin drive, and then you sack 3, restand it, and then you twin drive again and attack the Vanguard. So it's a good double attacker, in my opinion. I feel like it's still one of the best grade 3s for the deck. And yeah, and then when it declares an attack, it gets +2. So it's a 22 attacker when Legion, or a 13k when it's attacking by itself, kind of thing. So double attacking puts a lot of pressure still. So I feel like it's still a really, really good card to have as a threat, kind of thing. A lot of people aren't. I mean, like, a lot of people are prepared for this now, but it's more on the lines like, do you have the cards to stop it? And then, it's tough when you don't have it, and it's all about playing smart with the deck. Shadows is overall still good. It's just, gears and all that stuff kind of outpaces it. So, but I still think it's still a pretty good deck overall. So yeah, that's the main deck. Sorry, I don't know why I'm having throat problems. But yeah. So, onto the G deck, the G zone. It's pretty basic lineup in a sense. But I'm going to go over it anyways, just so that people know. The lineup is pretty explanatory, but I'll say it anyway. I'll just explain why my choices are. So I run one of the Sabris because, grade 2 stall and, whatever. It helps start your GB1 and stuff like that, but I don't have too many GB1 cards in the deck, so... But it's just the fact that you get a triple drive off of it, which is really beneficial. And then it also sets up your future plays. I'm running one Grim Recruiter, just because sometimes you don't have the counterblast. Like, your opponent is very stingy about it and not giving you counterblast, so it's like, okay, I need an alternative stride to, force something. So, Grim Recruiter comes in, if it hits, you get a free Superior Call grade 1. So, I don't see the bad part about it. Could run Madu, but Madu is only good when you're Legioned. So, it kind of just lost its place in my deck, or in the G deck, so I prefer something that actually nets me something. To keep going, I'm running 2 of the Spectral Blaster Diablos. If you don't know what this card does already, it's Soul Blast 1. Choose a G unit, flip it over. Choose a rearguard you have, and then retire it. And then this gains an ability. Counterblast 2. Choose 2 of your rears and retire it. At the end of the battle that this unit attacked the Vanguard, you pay the cost. If you do, stand this unit, and then it loses 2 drive checks. So what you do is, essentially, you go boosted attack, triple drive, and then skill, sack 2, restand it, and then attack for a single drive check. It's still pretty throwful because you're hitting for still about 26, 33 if you're boosting for the first part. And so having to deal with a high number restand is pretty deadly still in this deck. And it's kind of like another version of the Phantom Blaster thing. This is your alternative to it if you can't Legion or something like that and you want to pressure your opponent with a double attack, you use this. So yeah. To keep going, I run 3 Aura Geyser Dragons and 1 Doomed. So the 1 Doomed is to flip over an Aura Geyser Dragon if I feel like using his effect to, you know, sack 3 to reveal the top 2, and then if any of them were grade 1s, I retire them. It's just to have that option. But having 3 Aura Geysers, its effect is essentially Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, flip over another Aura Geyser. When this unit declares an attack, retire 2 units, part of the cost too. Retire 2 units, flip over the top 2 cards, and for every grade 1, it gets 5,000. So this can potentially become a 36k attacker, but you're only doing it for the net pluses into your hand. This is just to get the retires kind of thing off, and then because if you did the Aura Geyser play first and then you do the Doom play, you do get the +1 crit. So that's why it's still pretty decent in this deck. I feel like I never get into this, but when I do, I do. And it does come in handy sometimes, so yeah. I kind of just like to leave it like this, to have my choices open. And then to finish off the strides, I run 4 of the freaking expensive $13 Phantom Blaster Diablo Dark Dragon. So, if you don't know already, this card is absolutely dumb. Counterblast 1, choose a face down card, Phantom Blaster Diablo, flip it over. This unit gets plus 10k and +1 crit and an extra effect. When you declare an attack with this one, you can sack 3 to force your opponent to sack 2, and or not to force them, but to give them the choice. If they sack 2, they're allowed to guard. If they don't sack 2, they're not allowed to guard, except for using G-Guardians. So, facing a 36k 2 crit, and if they don't have any rares, it hurts. And so, you know, hopefully they have a bunch of G-Guards in hand to stop this, or, you know, just take it to the face. But usually you only ever use this when you know you can deal the 2 damage to the opponent. But it is still good, because you force your opponent to use G-Guards and stuff like that if they don't have a rare. And also, yeah, people know how to play around this card now, but it does force their hand. So that's why it's still pretty good. It's good against decks that don't really have rear guards and stuff like that. So, you know, it makes the choices. It forces your opponent to make a choice, essentially. So yeah. So that's the strides. The G guards, I'm not finished with getting all my G guards, but for now, I'll tell you what I've got and then what I will change eventually. So I'm currently running 1 Dark Knight Ludwig. So when this is on the guard circle, choose a grade 1 or less rear, and then put it into the guard circle. I don't really like this card because you never ever really pull that off. You never want to get rid of a grade 1 from your side of the field. You want to always hold on to those. So, but currently, because I don't have another G guard that I'll get to, I'm running the 1. I am running the 1 Dark Element Dismal. When placed on rear, choose one of your rear guards, and until the end of the turn, it can't be hit and can't be chosen by card effects, or your opponent's card effects. So this is pretty good to stop any, like, D-Police, Kagero, Restand, Dotes, and stuff like that, or now apparently VMAX, when it tries to kill off everything, and then if you're at Thunderstruck, if they're at Thunderstruck 5, you know, deal damage if no rear guards. So this helps with that. But yeah, I'm running just the 1 though, just the 1 because you don't need too many of them. And then the MVP of the G guards, Dark Dragon Plot Maker Dragon. Ritual 3, this unit gets plus 10,000 10,000 guard. This is absolutely better by a long shot. Because in this deck, you do get Ritual 3, and if you don't know what Ritual 3 is, essentially, Ritual 3 is if you have 3 grade 1s in the drop zone, Ritual 3 is essentially active. And it doesn't matter the names, it's as long as you have 3 grade 1s, it doesn't really matter at that point. I'm still in the process of getting one more, but when I do get the one more, I'm taking out the Ludwig for the Plot Maker, because the Plot Maker is absolutely better than it by a long shot. But yeah, I mean, I could do this. I could do that just for the hell of it, because Japanese cards. But yeah, no, I would probably do it like this. Have 3 Plot Makers and then the 1 Dismal, just because it's better this way, and plus Ritual 3 is easy to pull off. So yeah, that's my generic Revenger deck. Hope you all enjoyed it. Comment what you think about it, and what do you think I should do to change it, if I should change it at all or anything. I will try to, I am in the midst of trying to build Raging Abyss, but I'm in the slow process of it. I like the playstyle, it's a pain in the butt to try to pick it all up. So yeah, but hopefully I will get it, and then I'll update this deck further with all the stuff. So yeah, hope you all enjoy it. Look forward to more feature deck profiles, because I will make some more. I've got like about, I don't know, 12 more decks I can do. So yeah, hope everyone has a good day, and I'll see you all later.